Hey guys, this is Mrs. Lyons. Today we're talking about types of chemical reactions. There are 5 types of chemical reactions that you should be familiar with and be able to identify. And oftentimes we represent our chemical reactions when we first start talking about them with people, because we represent what's happening with the individual elements or compounds with people to give us a visual. So I'm going to talk about 4 types of chemical reactions, and then we'll talk about the 5th at the end of this video. The first type is synthesis, and we know that synthesis means to make. So in a synthesis reaction, we're combining 2 individual things, making one product in the end. So one of the key things I want you to think about in synthesis is there are always 2 reactants and always one product. Okay. The second type of reaction is kind of the opposite of synthesis. It's a decomposition. We start with a compound, okay, so in this case 2 people, and they break up. Okay, so we end up with 2 individual products. So in this decomposition, we start with 1 product and 2 reactants. And it's always going to be that way. Okay, so these are easy to identify because you can count the number of products and reactants and you can determine which is which. The next 2 types, if we just count products and reactants, in a single displacement, we have 1, 2 reactants, 1, 2 products. Same with double displacement. So we got to do a little bit of thinking and categorizing to differentiate these. So in a single displacement reaction, what happens is it's like there are 2 people together, and a third person comes in and takes the place of one. So here we have a girl and a guy. Another girl comes in, takes that girl's place, kicks her out. She ends up alone. Okay. In a double displacement, we have 2 couples. Guy and a girl, guy and a girl. What happens is they switch partners. So the guys switch places, and the black guy and the red girl end up together, and the black girl and the red guy end up together. So we've had a switch in which both of the products are compounds, neither one's alone. Okay, so let's look at this in terms of some letters instead of people. Okay, so let's think about this. Now we have just letter representations and spheres, which would represent atoms. We have A plus B yields AB. This is our synthesis reaction. Okay, and again, we have 2 reactants and 1 product. Okay, in a decomposition reaction, I'm going to abbreviate decomp, we start with 1 reactant, and it's a compound, and it breaks apart to give us 2 products. And those products are simpler products. Okay? The third type is single replacement. I'm going to abbreviate SR, single replacement. Now, I want us to think about, we start with AB. This is a compound. And C is just an individual element. And then what happens, if you look, C moves in and takes B's place. So in our products, we end up with a compound and a single element. Okay? So one element has kicked another element out, taken its place. In a double replacement reaction, the last of these 4, if you notice, we start with a compound and a compound. AB is a compound, CD is a compound. What we end up with when this reaction is done, AC is a compound, BD is a compound. So notice the difference between single replacement and double replacement. Single replacement, we have a compound and an element. Double replacement, we have a compound and a compound, and one part of the compound is switching places. So in this case, we're switching two of our elements. So let's look at that fifth type of reaction. I told you there were 5 types. What's the fifth type? The fifth type of reaction is something we call a combustion reaction. And typically combustion reactions involve fire and something burning. And when something's burning, it always requires oxygen to burn. So oxygen is one of our reactants. And then our products in this reaction, are always the same. We always end up with carbon dioxide and water. So in a combustion reaction, it's very, a lot of things are similar. We always start with oxygen. We always end up with carbon dioxide and water. The one thing that's different is something we call the hydrocarbon. And the hydrocarbon is just like it sounds. It contains hydrogen and carbon. So our hydrocarbon could be CH4, which is what we burn when we burn our Bunsen burners. We could have things like C8H18, that's octane, that's what's in a lot of cars in the gasoline. We could have some compounds that have some oxygen in them too. So anything though that contains carbon and hydrogen is a hydrocarbon, and when those burn in oxygen, react with oxygen, our products are always the same, carbon dioxide and water. And that's our fifth type of reaction, combustion reactions. Okay, so we will take a further look at each one of these types of reactions individually, but for now, think on that.